So I will be talking on first time patellar dislocation. If you see the incidence of the first time patellar dislocator, it is highest during the growth spurt and the younger than 18 years of the age with a tendency towards female patients. So more common in adolescent age group, and most of these patients have, some of these patients have associated ligament laxity also. So when we are talking about first time patellar dislocation, we are talking about patellar dislocation in adolescent age group. And so there is some dilemma, and we will discuss point wise. What are the risk factors with the first time patellar dislocation? And we have a very good article you have seen, there is a ISCA consensus part 1 and part 2. If you go through that, so there are some anatomical risk factor and some other risk factors, and among the anatomical risk factor, you should assess the trochlear dysplasia, the patella alta, the coronal and torsional or frontal malalignment, and the lateral position of the tibial tuberosity. The other important risk factor is age. Younger the age, more the chance of recurrence, and the recurrence rate comes up to 80% in younger group of patients. Hyperlaxity and trauma intensity. Low intensity trauma patellar dislocation itself suggests that there is some amount of underlying anatomical factor which is predisposing to patellar dislocation. So if it is a high velocity, chances of recurrence are low. But if it is a low velocity trauma causing patellar dislocation, chances of recurrence is quite high. So why we are in dilemma? Because most of these patients are in the age group of 10 to 17 years. And recurrence rate varies from 15 to 80%. And all the patients are symptomatic. Some patients have asymptomatic subluxation or occasional subluxation of the patella, lateral subluxation of the patella. So first time dislocation, when it comes to your knee, and it's a very common question which comes in your mind, that whether this patient is having associated osteochondral fracture or not. So there is a telltale sign. If the patient comes with a big effusion inside the knee with a history of patellar dislocation, most of these cases, if you do an MRI, you will see there is a small osteochondral fragment. And these are like an indirect telltale sign which suggests, yes, you should do an MRI for these patients. Always try to evaluate with the patella instability score. Either you can use Norvik patella instability score. Most of us are using the patella instability severity score, and it's very easy. It depends upon, you have to just calculate upon the age of the patient, whether it's a bilateral or unilateral, trochlear dysplasia, whether it is there, mild or severe, patella height, TTTG distance. Now we have come less than 16, earlier I think we used to consider 20, and patella tilt. And the total points are 7. If it is less than 4, yes, you can, chances of recurrence are less. If it is more than 4, chances of recurrence are high. So I think PISS is a very good marker, and you can do it in your OPD practice also. But the ISCA study group prefers Norvik patella instability score, so you have to tick, and again you have to assess your instability of the patella. So initially evaluation, what is important, the history, whether it's a first time dislocation. Sometimes patient has a history of subluxation also in previous episode. Thorough clinical examination, see for the alignment of the new apprehension test, see for the contralateral patellar dislocation. History of contralateral patellar dislocation is always they have a high risk of recurrence. Tense effusion, whenever the patient comes in your OPD with a tense effusion, don't hesitate in taking the blood out and try to make your knee, all the blood from the knee joint out, and you can do it in OPD only. Imaging, yes, initial imaging is X-ray, AP, lateral and axial view. That will give you the idea about what is the type of alignment, what is the pathology associated with this first time dislocator. And yes, after 6 to 7 days, we prefer doing MRI. Now, MRI is mandatory nowadays in our clinical practice. There are two important things in MRI. First, you can see the articular cartilage damage. Second, you can see locative osteochondral fragment. Third, you can measure all your parameters, the trochlear depth, the TTTG distance in MRI also nowadays. And always evaluate the articular injury. So there is a very good paper in this course. It said 90% of first term dislocator have some amount of condyle injury. But yes, 10 to 20% have a large osteochondral defect, but some amount of chondral injury is there in these patients, most of these patients with first time dislocation. And for that reason, MRI is gold standard. So after X-ray, try to do an MRI, see for your all the measurement, and also locate your osteochondral body, loose body. Now the dilemma is conservative versus operative, whether you will operate in these patients or you will treat them conservatively. And I think there is a very good guidelines. Now I will share these two papers also, the ISCA consensus on patellar instability. So if it is a first time dislocator, no history of contralateral dislocation, no osteochondral fragment, and it's a patellar side tear with patellar instability severity score less than 4, I think try to treat them in conservative way. So just 4 to 6 weeks of extension knee brace, and just I will have opinion of how many of you treat this patient with a knee brace for 4 to 6 weeks. Just raise of hand. And for 7 days. So I think there is no clear-cut evidence for that. All of you can discuss in dinner. So better to keep them on knee brace for 7 days. I think keeping them on knee brace for a longer period, more than 4 to 6 weeks, has no evidence. There is no evidence that it prevents the history of recurrence. Operative, yes. If you have an osteochondral fracture and its size is more than 1 centimeter square, you have to go for fixation. If there is some chondral bone there, try to either fix it or try to repair the cartilage. And if your patellar instability severity score is more than 4 in adolescent patient, try to go for your medial side MPFL reconstruction also. So operative MPFL repair, yes, now it's come. If your patient is having a PISS of more than 4, adolescent patient, femoral side tear, history of contralateral dislocation, so you can repair it with your osteochondral fragment repair. So we have enough now literature review. So in first time dislocator also you can plan for surgery, but before that you have to see for the patellar instability severity score, assess this patient, and then plan for your MPFL reconstruction. So first time dislocator, TENS effusion, suspect osteochondral fragment. TENS effusion, evaluate hematoma for pain relief. Osteochondral fragment, whether you fix or it depends upon the subchondral bone fragment. MPFL repair, yes, femoral side, you should always do. So just 1 minute. So first time dislocator, MPFL, patellar side tear, no osteochondral defect, and PISS less than 4, try to treat this patient conservatively. MPFL tear, patellar side osteochondral defect, PISS more than 4, try to go for surgery. Again, bony procedure, try to avoid go for bony procedure in open physis, because chances of alignment in this patient, always avoid at least TT transfer. If you are planning for some amount of bony alignment, you can go for coronal alignment only by heme epiphysiodesis or something like that. So these are the very two for juniors, good paper, and it's there on it's freely available on ISCA website. So management of the first time dislocator, ISCA consensus 2024 part 1 and part 2. Please go through this, and I think this will give you a very good how to evaluate this patient, how to plan for treatment in first time dislocation of the patella. Thank you so much.